Well, hello there, and welcome to my world. It is Thursday, September the 12th. It is journal number 167, which means it's T plus 163. I know this for two reasons. One, I wrote it down, and second, because today is a clinic day. Clinic days are usually really interesting. They're filled with a fair amount of optimism and a little bit of anxiety, wondering what the numbers are going to be, because for a long time they weren't what they were supposed to be. Today the numbers were really good. Excuse me. The numbers were really good. My hemoglobin, for the first time in longer than I can remember, was double digits. It was 10.3, creeping towards a low normal for a male adult of 12.7. My white blood count was normal, mid-range normal, which is amazing. My platelet count was in the normal range for the first time, at 160 with a low male adult normal of 150. All of those are indications, and my red blood count is creeping up slowly, but still below normal. All of those are indications that the transplant's working, that things are going well, that I'm moving in the right direction, and I'm really happy about that. Obviously, I'm really sincerely grateful and appreciative of how well everything is going, and the fact that I'm probably earlier in my recovery than I thought I would be. But that, if you're as strange as I am, and if you're as weird, maybe that's the best word, weird, as I can be about certain things, that also brings with it a certain level of introspection and anxiety. And you might say, well, why? What for? Why can't you just be grateful? And unless you've been through something like this before, the answer to that question, if answered honestly, and I don't know any other way to answer it, is if you haven't been through something like this yourself before, you can't really understand the answer. And that answer is you're sort of betwixt and between. For 5.5 years, or close to 5.5 years before I was accepted into the bone marrow transplant program at the City of Hope, my whole life changed so dramatically. And I was defined as it wasn't all I was defined as, but certainly a big part of that definition was a primary myelofibrosis patient with a rare, extremely rare form of bone marrow cancer with a really poor prognosis for other than suffering with a chronic untreatable illness that would ultimately I would succumb to. Now, just 5 months later, really, since my transplant birthday, there's no evidence of the proteins that cause the disease, the mutated proteins that cause the disease. And while I went through a long period of time where I was physically debilitated, I'm starting to recover. I'm starting to feel better. I'm starting to feel stronger. And I'm starting to move back towards a normal life. That's hard to do because if you look here, my life is defined by the information that's on that little band. It says Schneider Mitchell J. My medical record number is 100-99-610. Not supposed to share that, I suppose, but and date of birth, which I prefer not to share. So there, even though I just had a birthday, and believe me, I'll take them all from this moment forward. But the realization that at some point in the future, this will cease to be my identification. Certainly the way I'm identified by others and the way I think about myself is a lot to comprehend. It's a lot to contemplate. Realistically, you would think that just the joy of remission or recovery would be sufficient to carry you forward into the future. And it is. I mean, believe me, it is. Holding my grandchildren, being with my wife, just what we talked about in another blog post, the amazing wonder of waking up next to somebody that you care so deeply about. Knowing that my children will have to tolerate me for a bit longer. All of those things are wonderful. But they also bring with them a certain level of recognition and realization that you have an opportunity that most people don't recognize they have. And that is the opportunity to reinvent yourself, the opportunity to really think hard about the things in your life that might have or could have benefited from improvement somehow, and you have the opportunity to change those now in a more positive, powerful way, and that's meaningful. I mean, that's extremely meaningful. And thinking about that responsibility and thinking about that opportunity brings with it just a whole whirlwind of other thoughts and feelings and emotions that swirl around inside your head, inside your body, all the time. All the time. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that you think about them constantly, because you don't. I certainly don't. One thing I've recognized about monkey brain chatter is that the more you try to push something out of your mind, the more likely it is to fight its way back in or never leave. So when those thoughts do come up, I acknowledge them, accept them for what they are, and then for the most part go on about what I was doing, usually preceded by a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds of breathing exercises to help me clear my mind. Those thoughts still are there. You're just not, they're just not running on that constant loop that runs in front of your eyelids when you close your eyes. So I always used to kid around about who are you and what are you doing here? But when you're in a situation like I am, that's a legitimate question. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? How is your existence going to benefit others? How can you make it worthwhile for those people you care about and the people who care about you? And next month when I go to see the doctor in 3 weeks, because I've now my doctor's visits have gone from being an inpatient and seeing doctors every day to leaving the hospital and being down in Azusa for the balance of my 100 days and seeing the doctor twice a week up until such time as he told me it was okay to come in once a week, and then now once every 2 weeks, and then for the next visit once in 3 weeks. You start to realize that there'll come a time where you don't see the doctor for a month, and then possibly every 6 months, and then possibly every year. Recognizing the fact that I'm probably going to be seeing the doctor forever, and forever and for all time, as they track the disease. and ensure that it doesn't come back. And which I'm told it very conceivably could. So this idea of being betwixt and in between wellness and illness, is something that I contemplate all the time. I think it's something that perhaps you might consider. Not illness and wellness. It doesn't have to be that. It could be in between anything. In the interim between where you were and where you're going, and how you're going to handle that. I don't have an answer yet, although I am working on it. So when I come up with something, I'll let you know. If you come up with something, or if you have some ideas, please let me know. You can reach me at mitch@misfirebook.com. Until then, until tomorrow, stay well, take care. Know that I really do enjoy the time we spend together. Bye-bye.